like ask them,
Right.
what is it that we can do and to help you, and then ask them regularly, am I doing okay? And be ready for them and create an environment where they're going to feel comfortable telling you the truth. Say, I didn't really like that class as much. It could have been better. Okay, great. But you have to create an environment where people are going to be comfortable telling you the truth, even if that truth might be a difficult truth, because otherwise people are going to try to spare your feelings. They're going to hide a truth from you. They're going to hide a problem, and then there's going to be a problem. You're not going to be aware of it until it blows up in your face.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Gym Owners Growth Zone podcast. I'm your host, Andres Escobar, and I'm so ready to share this episode and the conversation I had with our guest, Roger Harvey. Roger is a fitness industry veteran with over 30 years of experience, and he's worked with various companies in different stages of growth, from small startups to large corporations. Roger holds a movement science degree from the University of Michigan, and he finds joy in helping others, as so do I. Whether it's in managing a business, developing talent, or training his clients. His purpose is to help others, and he strives to fulfill it every day. Notably, he served as the COO of no other than Crunch Fitness, overseeing its growth from 3 small studios to 27 gyms in 6 different states. Before we dive in deeper, a lot of pre-production work and editing goes into producing an audio and video podcast like this. Moving forward, we're going to be releasing a ton more gym growth strategies and offers from our guests and sponsors. So go ahead and subscribe or follow us on the platform that you're listening to right now. And we really appreciate your support and truly thankful for it. So when you're listening to the show and you think of a friend, do them a favor and share it with them, because we all know sharing is caring. And it's really just a nice thing to do around here. My last ask is simple. We all know ratings and reviews are really helpful for any business and podcast. We would greatly appreciate it if you would leave us some feedback in the form of a review, which would help us reach a wider audience and improve the show for you. Now, as we dive into Roger's episode today, I'm really intrigued to get your opinions and your thoughts about what Roger's going to share with us. So let's go ahead and jump in and listen to our conversation. Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Gym Owners Growth Zone. I'm your host, Andres, and I want to welcome our guest, Roger Harvey. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you, and this is such a great opportunity to really talk to somebody that has been in the industry for a long time and can talk to our audience on how to build and grow a gym. And Harvey, I don't know if it's you have like a last name for first name, and
Yes,
so
it happens all the time. It's fine.
it happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm
is it
also
Roger?
named
Is it
after a
Harvey?
couple.
How do people talk
I'm
to you?
also named after a couple of famous movie rabbits: Roger Rabbit, Harvey the Rabbit. Yeah, but yeah, Roger. Hey, you. I answer to a lot of names.
Well, I appreciate you being, because it's such a great guest. Roger, tell us a little bit about yourself. Share with our audience who you are, your origin story, how you got to where you are right now.
All right, it's a pleasure to be here, Andres. So thank you, and thank you to everybody that's investing their time to listen to our conversation today. I hope that they find it helpful. I was raised in the Midwest, Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and went to school at the University of Michigan. Have a degree in movement science. I was drawn to a larger city and moved to New York after graduating from college. And I had a degree in movement science, but I didn't really know what I was going to be doing with it. The fitness industry in 1991 looked a lot different than the fitness industry looks right now. A lot different, but at the same time, there are some similarities, which we may get into, where it's sort of, I've heard it said that history may not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So there are trends and patterns that were happening then, but it'd be more accurate to say I wasn't necessarily aware of them. And I moved to New York. My first job was working at the in a gym, was working at the front desk of a bodybuilding gym in Midtown Manhattan, Hell's Kitchen, called Mid-City Gym. It's still there. Vince Consalvo. I'll always remember Vince. Great guy. First person to give me a job in this industry. And he was the first mentor I had in the industry and started to teach me, how the business operates. And I moved on to the fitness company. And then I was there until working at a gym at the World Trade Center, where the fitness center I was working at was located. So it was a really impactful moment in my life, and especially so now because it happened in February 26, 1993. So every year in February, that comes back to me a little bit. It's a little bit of PTSD, like, oh, wow, if I lunch a half an hour later, I might not be here to have this conversation. And also learn the important things about operating a business and how important emergency action procedures are. And was really but operations were in science, like it came from movement science, and operations really suited my blue collar background. My very first job in my life was picking weeds in a vegetable garden in northern Michigan. So I'm literally not afraid to get my hands in the dirt. And then I joined a company called Crunch Fitness, which was at the time a little boutique studio chain of 3 locations. And
wow.
The owner had a real vision. He shared it with me, and with an amazing team of people that we attracted there over the course of time, we're able to build that company into something that continues to grow and do great things today. And I've been in the industry ever since.
Awesome. How did you get from working in the World Trade Center to Crunch Fitness? How'd you get there?
So the gym at the World Trade Center was closed it sat on top of the Vista Hotel, which was located directly between the 2 twin towers. And the bomb went off directly under the hotel. That's where the parking garage was, where the bomb was located. And so while the towers were able to reopen, the hotel was closed for a long time. And so the fitness center that I worked at was closed. And I was working within an organization, a great organization called the Fitness Company. And people were to go back and check some of the members of that team from the Fitness Company back in the early 90s. It was quite a roster. I look at some of the people, what they've gone on to accomplish in this industry. There are some real superstars. So I felt very honored to be a part of that organization early on. They moved me to a couple of different locations, doing some work in Jersey and some other Manhattan locations. But that sort of spurred the change, and so I was looking for something different to do, and Crunch was the opportunity that I found. I started as a general manager of the 83rd Street location, which is still open today, I believe, and was quickly promoted to chief operating officer, running the 3 small studios initially, and then we grew the business from there.
I love that, and it just reminds me, there's gym owners out there that only have 2 locations, 3 locations. And, it just takes me back to what I remember hearing is don't despise small beginnings, right? Sometimes we're like, oh man, I'm not where I want to be. Listen, just hold on to that vision, move forward, full sail ahead, go get it.
Right. I mean, every business earned its first $100, right? Apple Computers earned it before they earned $1 billion. At some point, they earned $100. And then they earned $200. That's how it works. Right? And so in remembering that helps, helps even the playing field. Like, oh, okay, I'm just at a different part of my journey.
Right.
And you're right. Believing in the vision is probably the most important thing you can do. If you don't believe in it, nobody else is going to.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's so good. Yeah, I tell people, in your progress, in your journey, where was it where you had these guardrails, these tracks that kept you going? It could be something or it could be someone, but something that helped you get the progress that you were able to achieve, the success you were able to get. What would you say that would be, Roger?
Well, it's interesting. My answer would be different over the course of time. As as my level of awareness has changed and I have more clarity on my belief systems. So I'm a person of faith. And so I would say that the thing that's gotten me, it's family, and it's this family that I have that I'm supported by. And I didn't always recognize and appreciate it. And as my journey has progressed, I I've been developing sort of a curriculum that I follow. I call it my Level 4 Awareness Training Program.
Right.
And this level is for awareness training. It helps you practice living by learning to go more slowly. Entity is that this life is that we're a part of, and it's amazing. So it's not just one person. The people who are closest to me, my daughters, my parents, my family, my fiance. It's a progression, and there are people there, and it's learning to go more slowly so that I recognize who's supporting me, and then I give back to those people. Helps me fulfill my purpose, which is helping others.
That's good. So what I'm taking from that is that the people became your tracks.
Yeah.
People that you surrounded yourself.
Absolutely.
And also God as well.
Yeah, surround yourself with the best possible people.
Yeah.
And do everything you can to make their day better, to make their experience better, to help them find their success. And the rising tide is going to lift all boats. And as long as you're doing that consistently, finding a way to live a story that solves problems. Solving problems is a valuable skill. And problems have always existed. They will always exist. There'll always be new ones. And so it's just, you're eliminating a lot of the noise and the clutter and the distraction. And so I may not know exactly what's going to happen next, but I'm getting a better idea of it. And I might realize that, that I've already gone down that rabbit hole. I don't need to experience it again because I have a pretty good idea where it's going to lead. And I can stay focused on the things that are more important to the priorities that I've set for myself, the goals and objectives that I've set for myself. And I find, we're talking about gym owners and how do they set themselves up for success. It's about setting goals, doing your best to achieve those goals, understanding that failure is not an option because it's a requirement. And
I like that.
It's a requirement.
Yeah.
And then learning, having the sort of developing and practicing the humility, that's great. And now they may fail the first time. Again, failure is a requirement. There's going to be failure. We train the body to the point of failure, and then the muscles get stronger and the healing. Let's train our business the same way that we train the body.
Wow.
We're going to push it to the point of failure sometimes. It's something's going to break, and then we get better as we go forward. Like that's what we're doing. That's solid. You said it's gym growth, right? We're growing. Your business is a living, breathing thing who is not meeting his goals. And we sat down and we break down the numbers. Okay, this is the revenue goal that we need to achieve. And the average sale that we're bringing in is this amount. And so so we know how many sales we have to have in order to achieve our goal.
Right.
And now what's our closing percentage? So we can reverse engineer the math. So we know how many appointments we need every day in order to see enough people so that we close enough sales at this value that we're going to sell, and the number of training sessions and packages that we need that we're going to achieve our goal. It's just math. It's math. And he was struggling a couple months in a row. He was struggling, and so. But I'm a believer that there is no. Mr. Miyagi said, right? There is no bad student, only bad teacher. Okay, maybe I haven't explained it to him well enough.
Okay, all right.
A new month is starting, and we're doing the math. And then with each thing, say, okay, well, we're going to need this many appointments a day. And his head is hanging. He's like, well, there's no way we can get that many appointments. Like there's not enough people. Well, we have to in order to achieve our goal, we're going to have to average this much per sale. And he's like, oh, I don't think we're going to get that out of these people that are coming. I don't think they have enough money to afford that package. And at some point, I paused the conversation. I said, well, hold on one second. I said, do you like your job? And he said, yeah. I said, you'd like to keep your job, right? Now he's starting to get a little bit nervous. He says, yeah. And I said, okay. I said, because I'm telling you what the expectations of the business are. I said, this is what ownership expects. I said, and it's reasonable. I believe it can be done. And so I'm not going to go back to ownership and say we can't do it because I believe it is possible. And I said, now I'm explaining to you what we need to do. And all you're telling me is why we can't do it. Because the members don't have enough money. They're spending money on other things. They don't show up enough. Every time I tell you what we need to do, you're telling me that we can't do it. I said, you're in the process. You're convincing me to fire you. I said, and you don't realize it. I said, so if you want to keep telling me all the reasons why you can't do the job that you've been hired to do, I said, then unfortunately, I really like you. I said, but I'm going to have to let you go, and I'm going to have to get somebody in who believes that they can accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
I said, I'm okay with, with going out there, but to give up before we even begin doesn't work. I said, so are you going to keep telling me why we can't do it? Or are you going to say, well, there must be a solution, so maybe we need to create a different type of training package. If you're right, and the people aren't going to, if you can't afford that much, maybe we should be focusing on selling small group training instead of one-on-one training, and the price point comes down. There has to be a solution, but the answer can't just be, oh, we can't do it, and so I'm going to quit. I said, and so, that's a challenge, and working through it, again, tactfully and respectfully, understanding that, it's important to him or her, whoever somebody's working with, to keep their job. I'd like to help them keep their job. I'd like to help them make more money. But
Right.
but in order for that to happen, we have to do these things. And if we're not willing to do these things, then we don't get these. Like, this isn't you don't have to be here. This isn't the Army. You weren't drafted, right? So there's not a war going on. You're not drafted. This is at-will employment. And we have an agreement. And the agreement is that we've agreed on a compensation that we're going to pay you in order to do things. And if the things that we're asking you, we're not really asking, the things that we're telling you that you need to do to fulfill the expectations of your position, if they're not illegal, unethical, immoral, dangerous, then you're expected to do them.
Yeah.
And if you do what we're telling you to do, and what we're telling you to do fails, but you're giving your best effort, now we know that responsibility is on us. I have a number of processes that I follow. And I tell people, I'm like, listen, I'm going to share with you my methodology, and you can use my methodology or not. Doesn't matter to me. You can follow your own method if you want. But if you follow your own method and your method fails, now that's on you. I said, but if you do exactly what I ask you to do and it fails, now it's on me. And I'm going to be the one, like, I will put my neck on the line for you because you're doing exactly what I asked, and I'm getting it wrong. Now I'm going to make sure that I shoulder that responsibility. But if you think you have a better solution, and sometimes their better solution actually does work.
No, I love culture. Culture's so big.
What usually happens in the process of understanding expectations, as you really do a good job with that, somebody will realize, oh, this really isn't the right fit for me. So I actually find that it's been less often in the most recent years of my career where I have to terminate somebody's employment, and more often where somebody just says, oh, I understand what the job is that they expect me to do. Yeah, I don't want to do that. And then we can leave, we can part friends. Like, okay, like, this isn't the right spot for you. Every job isn't right for everybody.
Right.
Don't try to, and so it's that communication and again, process of understanding expectations. It works 100% of the time. If somebody organize, communicate, educate, evaluate, modify, repeat. Just keep doing it. It works 100% of the time. It does not fail.
Now we can go back over here to the fitness and the expectations of fitness industry, right? And so there's things in the fitness industry, there's issues in any industry, honestly. I've been in many other industries, and fitness industry right now, what do you see something that can be improved upon to grow stronger in the future?
I think one of the things that this industry needs to do is it needs to create better compensation and career path growth for people entering the business. Unfortunately, most gym and studio owners are hiring people. I shouldn't say that. Maybe it's not most, but a lot.
A lot, yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Right. They hire people to work at the front desk, and they pay them minimum wage. And if you're paying people the absolute least amount that you have to, then you shouldn't be surprised at the level of quality that you get. Right? I believe that the smart owner is going to pay people as much as they can, rather as little as they have to.
Right.
And so now it has to be a profitable business. So you can't just say, okay, well, in New York City, minimum wage is $15 an hour. So you can't just say, well, we don't want to pay people the minimum wage because we're going to get the lowest quality of talent, perhaps. we can't just say, okay, well, we're going to pay people $20 an hour. There has to be a financial budget that supports that.
Sure.
But that starting point, you start to get better people in, and you clearly explain the expectations of the business to them, then you're going to find, and this is where technology can be leveraged a lot to help the experience as well, right? I think that the advances in technology, which are amazing, not just in fitness, but certainly in fitness, they're happening not to replace people, but to rather highlight the magic of the personal experience.
Yeah.
And the technology is there to just provide support around us so that one-on-one human interaction is a magical moment. So when people leave, they're just like, wow, what just happened in there? Like if somebody comes into your studio or your gym and they leave feeling better than they did when they walked out or when they walked in, and that consistently happens every time they come in, they leave, I feel better. They're going to keep coming back. They're going to say good things about you. They're going to bring your friends.
In your progress, in your journey again, there must have been, of course, some specific person or a group of people that helped you and influenced you. Who would you say stands out in your mind?
One I mentioned already, Doug Levine, the founder of Crunch, and Doug was tough. Doug was tough to work for, and I've told him that. He knows that. It was sort of working with Doug back in the day was sort of like a boot camp, where he was. But the lessons that he taught me in terms of marketing and strategic brand development were things that I hadn't had any schooling in, and he taught me in the real world, and those continue to add value to my experience today. He taught me some things about management where I saw the way that he did things, and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to do it that way. I'd like to be able to do it with less of a drill sergeant mentality, but I'd like to be able to get the same results. So it requires me to think outside the box.
My buddy used to say it, but he never told me where he got it from. He used to say that.
Yeah, I dig around a little bit. Sometimes I get tricked by the internet,
Right.
in terms of who it's attributed to. But if I can find out who actually said it the first time, give that person credit. Yeah,
why not? Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
absolutely.
Of course.
Again, go slowly enough because if somebody shares something that I told them, make me feel good. If they say, hey, my friend Roger once said to me, and they shared something, like, it's nice that makes you feel good. And again, that's kind of the business that we're in, is helping people feel better. People. Right. But what's going to help people feel better? What's going to make somebody feel better? What is going to be success for them in a particular day? And we often think of what success is for us, and so we're focused on it rather than just asking them, hey, like when you and I were preparing for this conversation, one of the questions that came in, it said, what's one thing that one of the questions that you'd absolutely think we'd like to include? And I said, I'd like to know how I can help you. Like that's right. Everything that we talk about. Like I enjoy these conversations. I get to wax nostalgia a little bit and speak a little management philosophy, and I have these processes. But ultimately, my purpose is to help others, and you're the person that's in front of me right now. So, as we get to know each other better and our relationship blossoms, I'm interested in, well, what can I do to help you? Like, what's success mean for Andres and your gym growth business? And part of that is obviously sharing information that might be of value to the audience that's going to listen to this. And so attempting to come in with some things that can be shared, formulas that I know work. They're like fractals, like the process of understanding expectations, the process of helping others, the process of storytelling. Like I've been slowly documenting this in a system that I'm happy to share with people because it makes their life easier. If you can make somebody's life better, if you can help somebody solve problems, and when they're coming in, some people go to the gym because they want to lose weight, they want to get stronger, maybe they just got divorced, maybe they're about to get married, maybe they have a highly stressful job, they just need to burn off it. Like, ask them, what is it that we can do and to help you? And then ask them regularly, am I doing okay? And be ready for them and create an environment where they're going to feel comfortable telling you the truth. Say, I didn't really like that class as much. It could have been better. Okay, great. But you have to create an environment where people are going to be comfortable telling you the truth, even if that truth might be a difficult truth, because otherwise people are going to try to spare your feelings. They're going to hide a truth from you. They're going to hide a problem, and then there's going to be a problem. You're not going to be aware of it until it blows up in your face.
Go is a beautiful word to hear when you're scoring on the soccer field. This last World Cup was won by Argentina because of one important player. Yeah, you got it. It was the goalie. He secured the win for the team, and in the same way, ReviewBiz platform will catch negative reviews before they go online. In addition, it helps you score and promote fresh new reviews so you can crush the competition. So don't let those big box gyms take your clients. ReviewBiz will help you build your online presence and turn your own members into your best sales reps. Get your first 5 reviews for only $1. All you got to do is go to reviewbiz.io/try to get started. So true. I like to ask the why question. And after they answer that, but why? And then why, right? Kind of like get a little deeper to really get the truth, the root cause, the reason. That's right. For whatever you're asking.
Like the root cause, right? We keep talking about the roots. The roots make a difference.
Yes.
Sometimes if you have people have difficulty answering the why question. If you want to, if you'd like to know why, ask how. And if you'd like to know how, ask why. So sometimes it's like the process of elimination, right? Black holes exist. They can't see a black hole because it's a black hole. Light can't escape from it, but they know that they exist because they can see the impact, the gravitational impact that a black hole has on everything that's around the black hole and on the event horizon. And so sometimes if you want to find one answer and you're having difficulty identifying it, start eliminating things that aren't part of that answer, and then whatever you're left with is going to be your answer. That's an old Sherlock Holmes quote, right? When you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. So the process of elimination is a way that will often help people solve these things. They get stuck. If you're stuck, reverse, and then do something different and follow a pattern to it. So that, again, that's where that organize, communicate, educate, evaluate, modify, repeat. It's just a process. You just keep doing it. It's going to work. It takes time. The better you get at it, the less time it takes. That's also, the better you get at it, the more difficult the challenges that you find you're going to be facing.
Say it again, the last one.
The more difficult, the better you get at that process of understanding expectations, then the more quickly you can achieve success. But then it's like playing a game. But at the same time, as you advance in a game, then you're faced with more difficult hurdles. Right. So it literally is a game. Like, so you solve one problem, like, oh yes, I did it. Okay, now a more complex problem presents itself. Okay, now how am I going to solve this one? Yeah. And so coming up with underlying formulas, like a formula for how am I going to solve a problem, and applying those just basic methodologies rather than breaking down things into simple components is a great way to approach everything. I'm an advocate of Occam's razor, right? All things being equal, the simplest solution is usually the right one.
Yeah, we tend to complicate things as humans. That's for sure.
Yes, we do.
That's for sure.
It's amazing that we made it this far.
Yeah, so going into the next question is perfect because it's what is the one thing that you would invest in your journey, or was one thing that you would take out? Was it like the simple one thing that you would invest in, or the simple one thing that you would take out to help you get there faster, growth?
I would invest in more education for myself and for the people that I work with. Investing in education, nice. Make the people better. Invest in the people. Find ways to help them be better at their job. Invest in training development. Again, treat it like a game. We just finished the Super Bowl recently, right? So yeah. And so the NFL is a good example. The games are played on Sunday. What do they do on Monday? They watch game film. They break down, okay, what do we do right? They do it in the middle of a game. My friend Pete Moore just wrote a book, and he breaks down how team play can really be applied to business purposes. Like somebody comes off the field,
yes,
and they're looking at an iPad immediately, watching the plays that just happened. But how often do we, when somebody comes in and we have a bad interaction, or with a member, or a class, how often do we, right after a class, sit down with the instructor and say, hey, here's a recording of your class. Let's look at it. What did you do right? This was amazing. Keep doing that. Did you see how when you speak to people and you said this, everybody lit up? Say that more, because that really engaged. So we don't invest enough time in the education and evaluation stages, in my opinion. So that's something that I would invest in.
I like that. Yeah, we had Pete.
There's nothing that I would pull out. Nothing.
Yeah.
And so
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
One of my quotes that so far as I'm aware, I had coined. I say that regretting means that you want to change the past.
Right.
Remembering means that you intend to change the future. Right. So I have no interest in changing the past, because changing the past, time travel, that's a tricky thing. Right. And so you go back and change one thing in time, you regret it, you undo it, you pull it out. Butterfly effect is a real thing, right? So you don't know how that might affect everything else. I'm for all the challenges, and I've had to go through a lot of difficult things, and other people have as well. But if you made it this far, then appreciate the fact that, hey, I made it this far, and everything that happened to me, what can I learn from it? And you learn from it by remembering it and having the courage to remember it, even the most difficult things. Like, oh, okay, that was tough.
Yeah.
But I did learn a lot from it. And then the more you learn from it, and that's another process, the process of accepting experiences, right? I practice learning to loving every experience that I have, because the more I love the experiences that I have, even the ones that were awful at the time, then I learn from them. And the more I learn from them, the more I appreciate them.
Mm-hmm.
The more I appreciate them, the more I find myself being forgiving of myself when I'm the one that made it unpleasant, or if I believe that somebody else made it unpleasant, I become more forgiving as I appreciate. Then the more forgiving I become, I become aware of all these lessons that I've learned, and then I like to teach others and share those lessons with other people. And then you remember at some point that while there is no bad student, only bad teacher, there is only a teacher when a student asks to be taught.
Is ready.
Right? And so the final step is in service. So I'm in the service industry because I'm prepared to teach people, but I can only teach people when they say, yes, I'd like you to teach me. Before that, I'm just going to be here to serve you and help you in any way that I can. And when you're ready for me to teach you, then I'll teach you things based on the experiences that I have and that I remember, or those that I've heard from other people and I've learned from other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a feeling that you're going to say, I wouldn't change anything, because if you change something, it will change the future. And it's like, but yeah, I mean, listen, invest in more more education.
That doesn't mean that I would do everything again. There are things I'm like, oh, I remember doing that. I remember it. I wasn't happy with where it led me.
Right.
I wouldn't change it in the past because now I know not to do it again. Yeah. So there's a difference between not regretting and just saying, I'm just going to keep doing that again. No, but that's how I learn to modify my
remembering. I like that. I take that away. That's good.
Regretting means you want to change the past. Remembering means that you intend to change the future.
Love that. I want to keep that one. That's good. Roger, that's so good. All right, so we're ready for the Fast Five?
Okay, let's get it.
All right, yes. All right, let's do it. All right, so I'm going to give you 5 questions. He's going to answer right top of mind what it is.
I'm with you.
Awesome. Who is an influential people in your business journey?
My father and my mother.
Nice. Oh, wow. Very good. They're still together?
They both passed on, so they're together on the other side. My mother taught me how to stand for something. My father taught me what to stand for.
Oof. Love it. Love it. Next one. What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your business? or started with Crunch, right? Either or. Something you wish.
I wish I had known, for my own business, the consulting business and this curriculum that I'm developing, I wish I had known that it would take much longer to manifest in reality than it took to manifest in my mind. The idea and the vision that I had happened in an instant. You can't even measure it in that time.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of time, the time and energy, it would have been nice because I just thought, oh, it's going to happen automatically. But instead, it requires years and years of effort and discipline and learning. And so it would have been nice to know that in advance, but I guess maybe if I'd have known that all in advance, then it might have been too overwhelming, and maybe I wouldn't have undertaken the journey. Once I got started, so probably wouldn't change that either. But I look back, I'm like, oof, it would have been nice because sometimes I think things can happen much more quickly than they can.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. That's for sure. All right, next, the book, blog, or podcast that you've consumed that has positively impacted you. Because we like to know, hey, let's also check that out, right?
Well, I'm reading a couple of books. Most recently, my friend Pete Moore wrote a book.
Yes, he was on the podcast, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Pete and I go back 35 years. We worked at summer camp together. Great guy.
Nice.
So he just wrote a book, so that's worth reading. My friend Gary Garrier, I'm reading his book now. It's called Spiritual Compass. He's an actor now, but his roots are in the fitness industry. Those are some recent things. Beyond that, I would say that two other books that really stand out in my mind that I read many years ago, but were very impactful. Into Thin Air by John Krakauer, which is about a very difficult climb up Mount Everest that resulted in some tragedy. It's a first-person account of it.
Okay.
And the other one is about, I have to get the name in my head. It's about a journey to Antarctica back in around 1912.
Oh, wow.
There was an expedition they set out to. The names are escaping me right now. But they sailed to Antarctica. The objective was to sail. They had dog sleds and foodstuffs, and they were going to basically sled across to the other side of Antarctica where they were going to be picked up. And their boat got Endurance is the name of the boat, and this is 110 years ago or so now, and
right.
They were stuck. There's a group of people. Not everybody survived, but about a dozen or maybe 15 of them did. They were stuck in Antarctica for about 18 months before they were finally able to, after having pulled a lifeboat across the ice for like 100 miles. They put it in the water and ended up, I think, in Chile and Argentina or someplace. But that's a story of how somebody can get, like those stories where people get through things that are more difficult than you could possibly imagine. Some of them are in the news right now. I was thinking, there's a tragic earthquake that just happened in Syria and Turkey. And I keep hearing stories about, just today on the news, I think that a teenage girl was stuck for, I think, 11 days in the rubble and was somehow pulled out alive. Like, that's a story I would like to read at some point or hear. Like, how does somebody survive that? Stuck in rubble for more than a week and come out alive. And so, but those are, I think it was Endurance was the name of the book. It took me a while to grab it. Into Thin Air is great. And Gary and Pete's books are both really very riveting.
Practical and spiritual. Love
Correct.
it. Good. What's a favorite online tool that you have right now?
Favorite online tool that I have right now, managing businesses, is a tool called Prosper. It's an operations management tool. It really simplifies things for people who have businesses that are where you're managing frontline people. It's great. Communications, organization, online SOP manuals, ticket management. I'm not being paid by the company. I am friends with the owner, but it makes my job when I help people so much easier to have a tool like that handy. And as I've been, I think that is probably my favorite thing. And I fancy myself an amateur photographer, so I love to tinker around with which app on my phone gets used the most? My camera is one of the most. I enjoy finding beautiful pictures, sunrises, nature.
Yeah. Prosper web tool. Love it.
Great tool.
What's one habit or practice that you do that you believe everybody should do and would benefit from?
Practice listening. Daily.
Nice.
Make a point of it every day to practice listening.
Intentional listening, right? Not just
listening.
but intentional. I love it. That's so good.
And practice listening at times where the level of difficulty is hard.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. It's easy to get in a quiet room to practice listening or meditate, I'll sometimes find myself, I'll go to Times Square in the middle of New York and practice meditation there.
Wow.
That's like the Super Bowl of meditation. If you can clear your mind in the middle of Times Square, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But practice listening is the piece of advice that I would offer to anyone.
Love it. I love it. The last question you already answered, but maybe you want to add something else to it. And we already did Fast Five. I just kind of like to end into this one.
Sure.
If you can go back and speak to 10-year-old Roger, what piece of advice would you give him?
Appreciate those around you. Go slow enough. Stop worrying about going faster. Recognize and appreciate the people that are around you that support you, because sometimes you might not know until it's too late and people are on the other side. So I've been blessed enough to have been with my parents at the time when they both crossed over to the other side, and had the opportunity to recognize a lot of how much they helped me. I have an older brother who passed at a younger age than he should have from cancer, and I realize now how much of a positive impact he had on my life. And it's again, through prayer, I believe that I can communicate with the Spirit, but I wasn't able to do that now. So 10-year-old Roger, recognize the people who are around you, and focus on appreciating more. Worry less about what you don't have, and appreciate more of what you do have.
Yeah, that's huge. And I feel like I have to do that every day.
It's a practice,
right?
It's a practice. And some days you're going to do better than others, better than others. But it's a practice. Again, practice living that's the level 4. It helps you practice living. You're going to be here. If you're going to play sport, you're going to practice that sport. If you want to play the piano, you practice playing the piano. If you plan on living a long life, practice living. And all the habits that come with it. Healthy, whether it's eating and it's exercising, it's working with and getting along with others, finding ways to share feedback tactfully. There's all so much to it. Practice living.
Practice living, guys.
Practice living.
This has been great. I've really loved it, Roger. You have this kind of go
very much as well, Andres.
Practical, spiritual, and I know I took some stuff away, so I hope everybody else did as well.
And same here. I really appreciate it, Andres.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so, thanks so much, Roger, and I'll see you guys next time here in the Growth Zone. Man, that was such a fun episode. I really enjoyed what Roger said about how he reflected on the way his perception has changed. Giving you advice he knows now, especially on going slow to learn more lessons. By the way, what was your favorite takeaway from the episode? Connect with us at Meet Esco on Instagram and share your message with us. We would really love to hear your thoughts. Also, be sure to grab your no-cost custom QR code flyer at reviewbiz.io QR code. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. And if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to the show on the platform you're currently listening on, and leave us a rating and review on Apple and podcasts. Well, hopefully you're listening on those platforms or wherever you're listening on. It would really mean the world to us. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the place where you'll get some amazing content as well as a chance to never miss an episode. As always, I want to thank you so much for your encouragement, and I truly appreciate you listening to our podcast and helping us improve with your comments. And I'll be seeing you next time in the Growth Zone.